The National Energy Regulator of South Africa, NERSA, is going to announce whether Eskom be allowed more than 2.2% tariff hike. Eskom has been unhappy with the 2.2% suggestion. Let's go live to that press briefing.
This application will be considered through the normal public consultation process, where all industry participants and the consumers will be able to participate. Now, this application will be considered in accordance with Section 4 of our Electricity Regulation Act. Now, considering that there was no application from Eskom, the energy regulator confirmed its decision made during the MIPD3 process for the 2017-18 financial year. This means maintaining the approved allowable revenues on the basis of the approval of MIPD, the approval obtained in 2013. Just to be very clear on the amounts that are involved, the energy regulator confirms the allowable revenue for Eskom of 205 billion rands for the 2017-2018 financial year. The allowed revenue is Eskom full year's revenue as determined in the MIPD3 decision. Ladies and gentlemen, you will recall that in the MIPD3 decision, the energy regulator approved an 8% average increase per annum for the period of 5 years, starting from the 1st of April 2013 to the 31st of March 2018. However, the allowed revenue of 205 billion for the 2017-2018 financial year will now only result in an effective increase of 2%. And I think it's important to emphasize that. The manner in which we set tariffs for Eskom is based not on percentage tariff increases, and based on revenues that we allow Eskom to recover from consumers and I think industries or users of electricity, on the basis that they get a full recovery of their costs plus a return on I think the amounts that we allow them. So the focus is in reality on the allowable revenue as opposed to percentage increase. So the only reason that it equates to a 2.2% increase is because there has been some RCA decisions that were taken in the past that have resulted in higher revenues be clawed back by Eskom in the past financial years. So just to re-emphasize that, the reason for the lower percentages is due to a base adjustment made in the preceding years as the result of regulated clearing account. And a lot of the detail you'll see in the reason for decisions that we will publish. And just to remind you, in the 2015-2016 tariff period, the energy regulator approved a 12.7% increase as a result of the RCA application. And in the 2016-17 tariff period, we allowed a 9.4% tariff increase instead of the average of 8%. And those adjustments only arose as a result of the RCA application. Now, taking all those additional revenues that were given to Eskom, they result in an effective tariff adjustment of 2.2%. But I'd like to really emphasize that the MIPD decision of the 8% that was made in 2013 has not been changed at all during the last couple of years. All that has been happening with the changes in tariff is the implementation of the adjustment mechanism that is called the regulatory clearing account. So the approved revenue of 205 billion will be able to cover all Eskom's allowed costs, plus a return of the value of 33 billion. So in there, Eskom is not just receiving an allowance for the cost, they're also getting a return of 33 billion as per the MIP decision. It is important to indicate that the allowable revenue also includes an amount of 23 billion for purchases from independent power producers as a cost pass-through in line with MIBD3 methodology. And that's important to note. There is a 23 billion amount in the 205 billion that we are allowing Eskom to recover from customers today that has been earmarked for independent power producers. The cost recovery mechanism for IPP purchases will still be implemented going forward. In this regard, in any over and under recovery will be dealt with through the RCA mechanism. And just to re-emphasize again, the Gauteng High Court has resulted in NERSA being unable to process RCA applications until the appeal has been finalized. And this could potentially create financial constraints to Eskom. As NERSA, we'd like to emphasize that nothing prevents Eskom from making an application to NERSA for relief should it consider any possible cash flow risk and implications thereof on its financial sustainability. The energy regulator would, upon receipt of such an application, embark on a public consultation process as required by the law before making any decision. And that is our statement. I thank you. So we can take questions.
Thank you, Chair. Colleagues, I think it's time for you to ask questions. And I would request that before you ask the question, if you can, just introduce yourself and the media house you are representing. I will take the first 4 questions as the first round, and then we'll respond to that and take the second round of questions. I see one here, number 2. Yeah.
Sorry, Ed Stallner with Reuters News. So just to confirm, so it's going to be 2.2% for the next financial year is what consumers are going to be paying additionally on their power tariffs, I take it. I'm wondering, what was Eskom, did Eskom, it's just a bit unclear to me, did Eskom make a request, and how much did Eskom want? Did they want 8%, 10%? Thanks. And Charles, can you distribute copies of the statement to us?
Sure, I will be distributed.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, Chris Yellen from EE Publishers. Can I please ask the regulator, did it receive from Eskom a copy of the Deloitte's report as well as a copy of the Denton's report detailing irregularities in the procurement of coal and diesel and other costs? Did NERSA know about these reports? And if Eskom didn't give it these reports, did NERSA request a copy of these reports? And does NERSA have the obligation to investigate such alleged irregularities in the interests of the customer? And if NERSA has not received these reports, will it be getting these reports to decide from the year 2017 to date whether all coal, diesel and other procurements have been efficiently and prudently incurred, and will the customer get the benefit if any such procurements have been decided that they are not prudently and efficiently incurred? Thank you.
Any other question? You can just respond to this.
All right, I'm going to respond to some of the questions, and I may have to ask my colleagues to fill in on some of the other questions. So the first question is, the decision on the allowable revenue for Eskom for the 2017-18 tariff period was made in 2013. The amount is 205 billion, but obviously some of it included in there is an amount that goes to customers that are on special pricing arrangements and that. So to tariff customers, Eskom can receive 198 billion. Yes, it does translate into a 2.2% increase. But remember, the percentage is just a consequence of applying the methodology. It just compares to what it was last year and this year. The reality is they're getting 2.5 billion rands. And the second question, 2.5 billion, yeah. The second question, did Eskom make a request? I think it's important to note that our MIPD methodology contains specific rules and guidelines that needs to be followed. So what that means is this, is that when a multi-year price determination has been made, has been approved, as has happened in this case, the only adjustments that can be made is through what we call a regulatory clearing account. And because the court intervened with some of the RCAs and set aside one of our decisions, the submissions on RCAs that Eskom has made, we have been unable to process. So in that regard, our hands have been tied because we cannot go against what the courts have said. And therefore, in terms of our methodology, there was no other basis on that methodology for them to make an application, outside of the RCA methodology. What we are doing, though, is we're saying we do acknowledge that could have created financial harm, and that we're opening the door for Eskom to make an application in accordance with Section 4 of our Act.
Can I ask a follow-up then? Sorry to that. So do you mean that Eskom can still ask, in layman's terms, can Eskom still ask for a higher tariff?
Yes, and then we can then open it up for public consultation. So the public will have an opportunity to interrogate, look at the matters. So it will take in through all our processes. So the answer to your question is that's what we decided today, that Eskom, we're opening the door for Eskom, should they wish to make an application to us.
So
now,
can you just say what kind of, I don't know what Section 40, whatever it is, what kind of application would that be if it's not an RCA? And if they can't make an RCA, then why can they make some other application?
All right, I'll let some of the legal boffins address that question, but we'll come back to that additional question. Do you want to clarify this one?
You see, the RCA application is a backward-looking application based on what Eskom applied for originally and what we are doing. Then when it comes to the actuals that we've spent, then we compare the two, and then you have that balance on variance, This is what now they use to apply to us. We call that the RCA application. But now, this one we're talking about for the relief, it's a forward-looking application, not backward-looking, because if you go backward, we will have to consider the 2 RCA applications we've got, which the chairperson has just stated that we cannot be doing that now based on the judge's judgment on the RCAs that we've got. So while we are talking now about a forward-looking application, that's not going to look back, just to make sure that their cash flow problems, if they've got any, can be addressed whilst we are waiting for the decision on the appeal we've made.
Yeah. I think perhaps outside of the meeting, our legal advisors are here. They can come and clarify that section more for you. And then you go to the questions asked by Mr. Yellen. I'll let Mr. Ngetezo answer some of the questions. Did you receive the Deloitte report and the Denton report? Did we request it? Are we entitled to these reports?
We know about the reports. The Denton's report, it's recent. And as a regulator, we are monitoring this space because we do believe that if there are any issues that have to do with things like diesel, then we as a regulator might have to check that with Eskom.
Did you receive the report from Eskom?
No, we didn't receive the report from Eskom, but it's something that we can ask for anytime.
Have you asked for the report from Eskom?
Not yet.
Yeah, let me just emphasize a few things, because the real issue that you're asking, Mr. Yellen, you asked right at the end of your series of questions, that do we look at these costs and apply the standards that we normally apply of an efficient licensee and the cost being incurred prudently. Let me just say that if you look at some of the RCA decisions that we've made over the excuse me, over the last couple of years, you will know that in fact we have applied the efficiency and prudency standard. And in fact there was a lot of costs that Eskom had been asking for in the use of the diesel that we had not allowed for. So if you look at the 2 previous RCA applications, although the use of diesel in those open cycle gas turbines is allowed as a pass-through, we've done an efficiency test before where we said the level of which they have been used were not in accordance with the standards that we have set in the MYPD3 methodology, and we have disallowed a lot of the costs in the past. So the answer to your question, we have done so before and will continue to do so.
Do you intend to ask for these reports, the Denton's report and the Deloitte report? Do you intend to ask for them from Eskom or not?
I think to the extent that it may be necessary in applying this, management will have to look at it.
Do you not think that you should have asked for the report a long time ago and read the report and considered the report as the regulator? Do you not think that it was your duty to do so?
Yeah, I think perhaps without obviously having a lot of dialogue on this thing, the critical element is this. When we make our decisions, we consider all the facts and information that is available and are relevant to the decisions that we need to make.